But it's been nice to sit at home and enjoy the time with the kids and the family. And
good, and enjoy while you can.
Oh, absolutely.
And I've got to say, you text me a photo the other day.
Yeah. Which one?
I was pretty impressed, and I was like, "Are you serious? Are you really doing it?" And you sent me a photo of a boat, pontoon boat, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm just boat shopping." And I'm thinking, "Oh God,
I'm really rich."
This guy,
Well, I don't know if you guys. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have been following it, but stock has taken off in the last couple of days, and if you guys didn't invest in March when it was rock bottom, you kind of missed out.
Yeah, the president today said something about Warren Buffett made a big mistake by selling all of his American stocks, because the American airlines out there in the U.S., they are gonna just explode because this is saved them, and there's what, $13-something an hour for or $13-something a share for legacy airlines right now, and growing. So and that has a lot to do with the Chinese airlines that are now going to be banned, which we might talk about a little bit later in the show here coming up. So I mean, there's some interesting news coming up, and I'm glad you got to get out there and.
And so maybe the airlines will buy me a boat.
I remember when you said, "Hey, I'm going to buy a bunch of this airline stock now that it's like below $10," and
I got it at $8.30 a share, and I sold it at $22.
For all you guys listening out there, these two wackos, don't take stock buying advice from these two guys, okay? Please do not listen to them when it comes to buying or selling any stocks.
Yeah, I got to tell you.
Oh my goodness.
I am as green as the next guy on stock stuff, but I had a feeling that there was no way that stock was going to go any lower than $8.
I didn't touch it because I was like, I don't even know.
You know what? People have said that before, and they've been wrong too.
Yeah, I'm sure they have, and I didn't invest a ton of money, but I was like, this is too good of an opportunity. I could, I kept my fingers crossed, obviously, and believe me, between March and now, it was, I'm like, I need to take a Xanax because this is not good.
The risk reward was definitely in your favor, but please, nobody take advice from the stock market from any of us.
And thank you, Roger, for saying that, because oh my God,
I just want to keep us all out of some trouble here.
I
love people calling up and leaving reviews about how they lost their life savings because of us.
Down the toilet.
Couldn't handle it.
Well, mine's going to be in a boat, so which is essentially the same thing. So.
Yeah. I hope you.
I mean, if we're really talking about it, I may have, if that cruise industry could come back, I may have dabbled in some of some unnamed cruise lines. So maybe if those can come back too, maybe these cruise lines can buy me a boat.
Yeah, I think you're sitting on a gold mine if you did.
Wow. So what are these stocks that you guys are talking about? What is it? Stocks? I just go to work. I don't know.
Hey man, remember the grass is only greener where you water it, so you got to invest in your own company.
Yeah, that's very true, and that is very true. And I did do some juggling in my retirement plan and tried to diversify my portfolio. Now was a good time to do that, not to sell, but to buy and spread out that wealth, so that in retirement you can get a good balance at the end of it. I've been following Dave Ramsey for many years and following his techniques, and I play the safe game and want to live as much of debt free as I possibly can. And so I applaud you guys for taking the risk. And and
on episode 45, Squawk Ident Crew's
files for bankruptcy,
buying retirement plan.
Chapter
cashed
11.
it out. So just invite me to the boat when you get it, okay? Just so we can have a couple beers,
You betcha. Anytime. You're welcome anytime.
Oh shit, man. Well, my weeks since our last show of flying have been plentiful. I don't know why I'm still holding a decent line in my seniority. We'll see what happens after the big vacancy displacement bid comes out. We're all kind of all on pins and needles. Have you heard anything? Is it coming out? Supposedly in a couple weeks, they're going to announce the preliminary, and I'll find out if I'm still going to be an LA Airbus FO, or if I get displaced onto a different equipment or a different base. And this is just in an effort to kind of revamp the structure of the airline. We've seen these articles in the news and on the internet about how all these airlines are going to be restructuring and be smaller after this whole COVID pandemic starts to come back to normalcy in terms of the economy and air travel. And we're starting to see a little bit of that, but either way, no matter how good it gets, the airlines, all of them in the United States of America, they're going to be smaller. They're going to be more streamlined, a little tightening of the belt, you can say. And so we've talked about this before on shows together, where there's going to be a big vacancy bid and displacement bid, because they've parked a bunch of airplanes. They've closed, not bases, but those airplanes won't be flying out of those bases anymore. And then they're moving some airplanes to different bases like Philly. And Rob, help me out here. What's the other one they announced that they're going to add I think
they're going to add a
787.
Base to 787 base to you put me on the spot.
Was it Philly?
I think it's Philly, and then they're
Charlotte.
also going to add a 737 base to Charlotte.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of this shuffling of the pilot group, and because it's based on the pilot's preferences in their displacement bid. So they have a bid in the computer and saying, okay, if I get pushed out of my base because my seniority can no longer hold that aircraft at that base, then what are my choices or my preferences? So if your displacement preferences are, well, if I can't hold, for me personally, if I can't hold an Airbus in Los Angeles, I'd rather go to a 737 in Los Angeles because I would rather not commute. I've done that for over a decade in my previous history with other airlines, and I just don't feel like I want to do that unless I have to. So I'd rather do that. If 787 long haul wide body opens up for FO, which with my seniority would be like FOB or FOC or whatever it is, where I'm basically a relief pilot going over to Asia or New Zealand or wherever they go, then I won't be doing landings. I'll be going to the Dallas training center every 90 days to get 3 landings in, because as a relief pilot, you are basically in a bunk for the duration, for most of the flight. And then when you're running breaks 4 hours in or whatever, you run breaks for the other pilots. And so they get their rest on these long haul flights that are going over the ocean. So who knows? I possibly might get displaced out of Los Angeles completely and put on an aircraft at a different base. And I have my preferences for that as well. So when this whole thing runs and is completed, then we'll know with the preliminary where we're going to go. But then the pilots have an opportunity to go, well, okay, I was awarded this over here at this base, say Dallas, but I can see that my seniority, I could actually have done this instead. So during the preliminary, you can kind of adjust things if there are people more junior to you with a different base that you might prefer more. So, and there's a lot of legalities and union issues with that and contract issues. So it gets really complicated. So I'm sure it'll be more than one run. It'll probably be 2 or 3 runs before everybody kind of gets settled into the groove of things. And then by then, I'm sure the company will change things around again. So this is actually going to affect a lot of pilots for a long time. So we'll see what happens. But for now, I'm flying basically my regular flying. I've been very fortunate. I'm not that senior, but I'll take it. There's enough people above me that are taking these voluntary leave of absences. That helps out with my bidding process for my monthly bidding. And I've been flying close to 85, close to sometimes 90 hours a month, which is a little more than average. So this whole thing it's kind of tiring, to tell you the truth. Since our last show, I've done 2 day with a Washington, D.C. overnight. I've had a few days off, and I'm doing, as we mentioned before, 3 2-day trips back to back, meaning no days off in between. And I'm in the between right now, my second and third trip. And the trips have been fairly consistent. There are a lot of flying in a day, relatively short overnights. It doesn't really matter to me right now because most things are boarded up, shut down, hard to find food, nothing really to do on the overnight. It's not like I'm like, well, I was going to go for a run in the park. It's like, not really. But it's been a definite increase in how many passengers I am seeing on board the aircraft. We are, for the past, 3 days now, every single flight that I was a part of, we were at capacity, meaning the maximum of 85% capacity, which is what Legacy Airlines is currently offering up. And we're full. And some people are upset about that. Others are totally okay with it. They're excited to see, the return of aviation come back. My flight sequences, I had a couple incidences this week. I don't know, Rob, did you have any passenger misconduct issues or anything weird happen?
None that I was aware of. People were, for the most part, compliant with, all the new standards and safety and stuff like that. I mean, the social distancing thing is, they do their best, but, when you're boarding and you're deplaning, they ask you to say 6 feet away or whatever. And, you just end up crowding the person in front of you anyway. Yeah, especially when you go to get off the airplane, everybody's like, to get off this thing, so standing back to back. And, but as far as the, the face coverings and masks and stuff like that, everybody had one on getting on the airplane. And, a lot of people, when they were drinking or snacking, they pull it down, which is, that's we got to do.
Right.
And then, the guys that were, the no way kind of guys, I'm not doing this. As soon as we parked the airplane, they took it off and they're, walking off the plane without it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, as far as the week went and, on a couple flights that I did, everybody was pretty much, it looks like people are happy to be going places. I didn't see too much people that were worried about, being in a crowded airplane or a crowded airport. I think most of the passengers looked like they were just happy to be going places, and the stores were open in the terminals, and the shops were I wouldn't say the shops, but the restaurants were open in the terminals, and
was it a good percentage there in Dallas that was open? Really?
Yeah, it was obviously when everything happened, everything was shut down. I mean, there was maybe one place open in the terminal that you can get, food. And now you've got the fast food places are open. You're getting some of the restaurants. They're allowing people to sit down again. And with social distancing, they block off some tables and stuff so that you can separate. So coffee shops are opening up in the terminals, which is great because I think we all miss that stuff. So, but with that being said, since our last broadcast, literally I've been to Dallas, Chicago, and Miami. So I really haven't been to too many airports, and obviously all three of those are Legacy Airline airports. So
the hubs,
it'd be interesting to how other places are doing.
Yeah.